AVV Nation, all of YouTube, what's going on? It's Patrick with VectorVest, back with you guys once again to our second to last piece of our technical analysis series. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most popular crowd mentality indicators out there. So as always, if you're ready to see what the indicator is, if you're ready to learn how to use it to impact your own trading and help greatly improve your results, as always, smash that like button that helps us out with the YouTube algorithms and doesn't cost you a thing. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, so that way you can stay up to date with all the content we have coming out for you on a weekly basis. So without further ado, let's jump right into it here today. All right, welcome back everybody. So that's right, today we're going to be taking a look at support and resistance. So let's go ahead first and foremost and take a look at what exactly is support and what exactly is resistance, and then we'll talk about some ways of using them to make sure that you're increasing your success in the markets. So first off, what is support? In a downtrend, prices fall because there is an excess of supply over demand. The lower prices go, the more attractive prices become to those waiting on the sidelines to buy the shares. At some level, demand that would have been slowly increasing will rise to a level where it matches supply, and at this point, prices will stop falling. This is support. So in essence, a point that the stock continues to go down, and then you've had a historical moment where you saw at that level, price started going higher again, telling us that supply was actually decreasing and demand was actually increasing, or demand was overtaking supply. So therefore prices start going higher again. So investors look at those levels to see, okay, well, this happened in the past. The stock started rising higher from this point. So if I can get an entry at that point, I can get a low price comparative or relative to where the stock is at currently and look for the stock to bounce off that point again. And then what is resistance? So resistance is basically like a ceiling, just the opposite of support, where supply outpaces demand. So imagine a stock ran up to an all-time high, pulled back, and then all of a sudden started going higher again and gets back to that all-time high. Then at that point, people who were in and may not have sold at that previous high are looking to take their profits. So therefore, they're going to be dumping some of their stock. So therefore, the supply will outpace demand, and that shows that, the stock is starting to slow down, pause, halt, and investors are really reevaluating to see if that stock can move higher. Now, these can be extremely useful though to find new entries and new exits. And like I said from the very beginning, support and resistance is the most popular crowd mentality indicator out there. Just like I was talking about in the last example. Looking at a previous all-time high. Let's say an investor jumped into the stock right before it hit that all-time high, and then all of a sudden started going down. That trader got put into the red on their position. Stock started going back higher, gets back to that all-time high. They were panicking when they were in the red, and now they say, well, I'm at this point, I didn't sell at that previous high. It's back there again. I'm not going to miss out my chance to lock in my profit at this point, so I'm going to take my trade off the table, move on. So then all of a sudden you see everybody else out there doing this, because if you notice these support resistance zones, most likely there's a lot of other traders also keeping an eye on these zones as well. So that's why it can really give you a lot of insight into the overall investor mindset on what other traders are thinking of when they look at the stock. So when you see a stock breaking through support or breaking through a resistance level, that shows the stock may have more upside potential to go. And when a stock comes down, tests support, and then breaks down below support, then that's usually a good indication that the stock has more room to fall. So these can be great to find potential entries and exits, and also tell you when, if you're in a position already, when you should consider tightening up your stops and when you should consider just dumping the position, taking the small loss, and waiting for a new opportunity. So with that, let's go ahead, jump into the VectorVest software and take a look at a few examples here today. So we'll get out of Investopedia.com and jumping into the VectorVest 7 Unisearch. As always, we have this Pro Trader folder here, which is our technical scanning capabilities. It is an add-on feature to the VectorVest 7 software, so click on the link down in the description below if you don't have it already to take out a 2-week free trial. But coming in here, we do have some pre-built scans for support and resistance already, with a breaking resistance by 2%, breaking support by 1%, and then breaking support by 2%. So let's go ahead and take a look, starting off with breaking resistance by 2%. Starting off with the indicator or the scan criteria, first and foremost, the sort is RT descending, so looking for the highest RT stocks out of the list that meet the criteria. RT, for those not familiar with VectorVest, is the relative timing indicator, and it's cast on a scale of 0 to 2, and it's looking at the short-term price trend of a stock. So above 1, the short-term trend of the stock is up. Below 1, the short-term trend of the stock is down. So the higher above 1, the stronger the uptrend. The lower below 1, the stronger the downtrend. Getting into the parameters though, stock price has to be greater than or equal to at least $5. The average 50-day moving average of volume has to be greater than 250,000. Stock cannot be an index, pink sheet, or penny stock. No contra ETFs, and stock price split adjusted. Let's go ahead and take a look. Support resistance, and let's go ahead and analyze the value here. Price is breaking resistance line by 2%. As you can see though, you can customize this just like with any of the other technical scans. So you can change the number of touches required. So how many times does it hit that same level before it bounced off? This defaults to 3. And then price is breaking, or you can use nearing, retracing from, resistance, or support. So they have to be breaking through that resistance level by at least 2%. So let's go ahead, run this scan, and take a look at the stocks that come in here. So we'll go ahead and run the search, wait for the results to come up. And then as always, we'll just go ahead and graph all of them here at the top. And up comes our first stock, ITUB. So as always with VectorVest, once you put on support resistance, it'll automatically put those lines on the chart for you. Now, if you want to customize them, over on the right-hand side, you have the support resistance icon here. So you right-click on that and go to change the settings. And here we can see we're using 300 bars. We'll increase the number of touches required to 3 since that was part of the criteria we looked at. Then you can also set the size of the reversal from strong, medium, or weak, size of the support resistance zone from wide, average, or thin, unbroken or broken lines, and then number of lines you want to have displayed at any given time. So go ahead and say OK to this. And as we can see with ITUB, it was in this tight channel where we can see just like we were talking about earlier. You had people jumping on board because it was right at that resistance level back here around $5, broke through, hit that level of resistance at 531, pulled back and retested support at 5. So you saw people jumping back on board because, hey, if it already broke through here, probability tells us it has a good chance that it's going to continue to move higher, at least back up to that 531 resistance level. Well, it did. You saw a lot of people taking their profits at that point that missed out taking profits here. Pulled back down, came back and retested that $5 support. Ran back up to 531. Came back down to 5. And then when it finally broke above, you can see a lot of profit taking going on. People were nervous because, hey, it's hit resistance 3 times now. So now that it's above that point, it may pull back to retest it. Well, it came back down all the way to that 5 level and then gapped up here today, clearly breaking through that resistance zone. So the nice thing about using support resistance is, let's say you jumped into this stock today as it's gapping up and moving higher. Well, with support resistance, they give you a hard line in the sand. What I mean by that is if you jumped in today, you now know at 531, if the stock can't hold above that point and move higher, then that uptrend is losing a lot of momentum, and most likely the probability tells us that the stock will come back down at least to the $5 range, if not more. So therefore, instead of sitting there once it breaks below that 531, if it does, you're not wondering, hoping what you should do next. You have a plan in place. You have a line in the sand telling you, hey, I need to get out. It's not holding that uptrend. Move on, wait for a new opportunity. So it helps you to remove your emotions out of your investing and focus more on a systematic approach. So ITUB, nice gap up, moving higher here today. But as always, whenever you have a stock that gaps up, as a side note, you should always wait for follow through the next day to get confirmation that it has momentum to continue to move higher. One day doesn't make a trend. Also, before we move any further into these examples, as always, make sure if you are a VectorVest subscriber to consult the color guard to make sure it's telling us it's okay to be buying. And if you're not a subscriber, make sure to click on the link down in the description below to sign up for the free trial. So that way you can have the color guard on your side to know when you should be getting in or when you should not be getting in. Moving on to the next one though. CCRN. You can see it had resistance here. So once again, let's talk about the crowd mentality aspect of it. People were loving the stock here, got caught one day and they were panicking. Well, now that it came back up here, you saw a lot of selling pressure notated by the higher or the taller wicks on the top, indicating a lot of people taking their profits at that point once it got back to that resistance level. Because they were scared, they were in the red probably at this point, not knowing what's going to happen next, wondering if they're going to have to take a big loss. But then when they can see an opportunity to get out of the trade, they take their first opportunity to get out instead of risking it and see what happens later. They've already sat through this. They're panicking. So emotions tell them, all right, I'm getting out now. And what did happen? Stock slowly pulled back a little bit and now blasting off to new highs. So here we can see a new level of resistance at 30.46 on CCRN. Hit once, twice, and trying to break through on this third attempt as of today. So once again, wait for follow through. Could be a good opportunity, but as always, make sure the color guard is telling us it's okay to be buying before jumping into any of these stocks here. BSBR, been in a steady decline. So this is one thing that you typically want to notice is, the overall trend of the market. If you're looking for stocks to move higher, you want to typically see a nice steady rise from bottom left to upper right and not upper left to bottom right. That way, you're not trying to catch a falling knife. And you already have the stock moving in the way that you want it to move. Now it can move sideways for periods, that's fine, but you want to make sure that the stock's already in some form of an uptrend, whether it be slow or fast uptrend, so that way you have more probability on your side for higher success rate there. But looking at it, you can see it hit this level of resistance at 618 and is struggling to really break above that level as of right now. Moving on to the next. EWZ, steadily moving lower. Once again, ETF, so you need to be careful with that. Looks like it's looking at Brazil, so going to be moving on from that one. PCG, moving sideways over the last 6 months, but you do have a nice uptrend starting ever since about the middle of June. Then you've had some choppiness here, which can be useful for support resistance, where you blew through that resistance level at 1207. Hit another resistance at 1255, pulled back down. That 1207 resistance level is now acting as the support floor. You did break down below that for a few days, but then quickly came back and then retested that 1255 before it finally broke off to this most recent run. So when looking at support resistance, they're not a hard number. They're more flexible. They're a zone, if you will. So you have to give it a little bit of wiggle room to the top and the bottom, so that way it doesn't whipsaw you out of trades too quickly. Plan your trades and trade your plan. And so if we get out of here, taking a look at the opposite side, let's go ahead and take a look at breaking support by 2%, let's say. So we'll go ahead and run the scan. Let's see if any stocks come up here today for this one. We do have some equities to take a look at, so we'll go ahead and graph these. And looking at it, you can see stock has been moving sideways overall, top left to lower right, but pretty flat for the most part. And you can see a lot of areas where you have potential support resistance zones. So therefore, if it breaks down below 1332, you're looking to take advantage of the next move down to 1258. If it breaks 1258, then you're looking to go down to below that $10 range, giving you some nice profit opportunities to the downside. Taking a look at the next, Tesla. So Tesla is a very popular stock, but looking at the price action, upper left to bottom right, we can see it is breaking this 253 support floor as of today, heading back down to that 225 support floor. You can see it had a lot of periods where it touched it, where you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 or 6 periods of consolidation around this point. And then you also have a tighter support down here at 216 as well. So when it gets to 225, it's going to be interesting to see how Tesla stock reacts to that price level And when it gets to 216, if it can hold that, that could be a great opportunity. But for right now, as it's breaking down below this support floor here, once again at 253, you have quite a ways to fall before you get to that next support at 225. So this can help you make a more informed decision on whether or not you should be getting into stocks or simply sitting on the sidelines waiting for a better opportunity. And then last but not least, we'll take a look at one more, BRP. You can see downtrend, which is what we want to see. But then you have support here at 26.22. We can see it was consolidating right at that point, breaking down below that as of today, gapping down. Now our next support floor comes in at 22.27. So about a $3 move on a $25 stock. Not a bad quick gain to add to your portfolio. So that's going to do it for today. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. Let me know if you use support resistance. If you do, what type of settings do you use it for? Are you looking for more short-term trades, more longer-term trades? Are you looking for a lot of touches on a certain support floor to really give more probability or more credence to that support? Or are you willing to accept a little bit more riskiness and not require as many touches? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, this is the second to last video for the technical analysis series. So next week we will be talking about combining some indicators together, so you won't want to miss out on that. So make sure, as always, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications so that way you get alerted as soon as that video comes out. So until next time, it's been my pleasure being with you guys. Hopefully everyone has a great rest of your trading day. And until then, take care, adios, and toodles.